Dr. Phil, many reached out to help her.
I believed my friend was dying.
We would take care of all of her needs.
But then they discovered the truth.
I lied about having muscular dystrophy and cancer. I bought a wheelchair.
She says she's ready to face the people she's betrayed.
You gave me these crocodile tears.
How dare you? I'm just absolutely disgusted.
Knowing she's lost someone to gun violence, you manufacture somebody hunting you down with a gun. That's manipulatively devious.
I didn't want to hurt her.
You either wanted to hurt her or just didn't care if you did. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Well, you know, when we meet people for the very first time, we naturally assume they are who they say they are, right? You know what they say about assuming, though? The fact is, everybody lies, whether it's to protect someone's feelings, avoid punishment, or escape accountability. It's just a matter of why somebody lies and how far somebody will go. Now, I'm pretty good at spotting liars, so we asked a couple of you before the show to think of 2 truths and 1 lie about yourselves. So I'm going to see if I can spot the lie. Is it you 2?
Yes.
All right, everybody have a seat, except you 2. Tell me 3 things. Okay. 2 of them are going to be the truth, sure, and 1 of them's going to be a lie.
Sure.
Don't look at me when you're talking to me.
I was in a fencing competition in middle school. I took a hip-hop class in college, and I played professional badminton in Canada.
Okay, how long was the fencing class?
The fencing class was about 5 months.
How good were you in badminton?
I was okay. I probably got like 3rd or 4th place. Okay.
Is that a lie?
Yes, that was a lie.
Sit down. Okay. You can sit down. Okay, you're going to tell me 2 truths and a lie.
Sure. Okay,
right.
So I performed in a parade in Dublin, Ireland. I was Tinkerbell for 2 summers during the fireworks ceremony at Disneyland, and a woman wanted to adopt me when I was in a supermarket when I was a child.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when they wanted to adopt you?
I was about 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yeah, I can't remember. My mom always tells the story, and it's one of those things I remembered it loosely happening.
Okay, and what was the first thing you said?
That I was in a parade in Dublin, Ireland.
And how long were you in the parade?
It was about a mile parade. We just opened it. It was back in 2013.
Okay, and what was the second thing you said?
That I was Tinkerbell in Disneyland for 2 summers during the fireworks ceremony.
And what years were those?
Those were 2014 and
You're
2015. I wasn't Tinkerbell.
No, you weren't Tinkerbell.
No.
That
in
was
my
a lie.
dreams, maybe.
Yeah, okay, sit down. Okay. People have tells. Neither one of them wanted to look at me when they were lying. So both of you are very honest people. You didn't like looking at me when you were lying, did you?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, because you're honest people. So you were not proud of lying. Well, my guests today, Brian and Liz, say they needed a lie spotter. They had a friend named Sarah. They thought it was a friend. They say 6 months ago, they met Sarah at a charity bike ride for breast cancer, and she told them she had terminal cancer. At the time, they had no reason to believe otherwise. Take a look.
Sarah was introduced to me as a young woman that was battling breast cancer.
Sarah told us that the cancer had progressed to a terminal state.
Sarah reached out to me on social media and told me that her treatment was no longer working. I was incredibly touched.
Sarah told us she did have a husband, James, as well as a 15-month-old daughter named Mindy.
Sarah told me that her initial goal was to do what's called a century ride, 3-day ride, and 1 day is a 100-mile ride. I cycle regularly, and I offered to help her.
Sarah came and stayed with us, and we definitely entertained her. We went out on the boat to see the flying fish.
We spent most of the daytime riding bikes. Nights we would sit in our backyard, and Brian would make dinner for us, and Sarah and I would have some really deep talks. I have never seen Sarah without either a cancer scarf on her head or a wig. At one point, she told me that she had a blood transfusion.
Another time, Sarah told my wife that she was actually being stalked and being threatened by this girl
who had extreme affection for her husband, James. Sarah messaged me that that the harassing posts had escalated into very detailed threats. The woman told her that she knew how to make Sarah's death look like an accident and hide a body. Sarah must have messaged me 100 times. The stalker had followed her to the gym, to the supermarket, was driving in front of her home.
Supposedly there were police involved and they were trying to capture this person.
I told Sarah that you hang up the phone right now and you call the police.
As Sarah's stalker story progressed, so did their suspicions.
I received a text message from Sarah that said, this stalker has a gun. She's chasing me. I said, just run, hide. I was completely freaking out. She told me that she was hiding in the shirt aisle, and that was the last contact I had until she relayed to us that the shooter was in custody.
I had doubts that the shooting took place because we couldn't find any news record of it.
I believed that my friend, who was dying of terminal cancer, was in a shootout. I was absolutely traumatized.
We've got a friend that's in law enforcement, and he was able to confirm that this never happened. After the shooting, I came across a record where Sarah had lost her nursing license in the state of Virginia because she was faking pregnancies. When I read that, every hair on my body stood up. You can fake a pregnancy, and you can definitely fake a husband and fake having cancer. It also dawned on me that I'd never spoken to James. I said, Sarah, you need to call me. The first thing I said to Sarah, I said, James isn't true. He doesn't exist.
And she said no.
And I said, Bindi doesn't exist, does she?
And she said no.
And I said, the shooting certainly never happened. And of course she said no. Then I asked her, is the cancer real?
I said, do you have breast cancer? And she said, I do.
Eventually led me to contact her family, and they confirmed that she does not have cancer.
I couldn't believe it. Shock, horror, embarrassment, and betrayal. Why would you want to bring harm to someone who was so kind and so supportive of you? Like, why would you do this to me?
It's one thing for Sarah to have taken advantage of my wife and her kindness. It's just horrible that she's reached out to girls that truly are sick, and it's just gut-wrenching to me.
Well, thank you guys for being here, and I'll tell you why I think this is such an important story. There are more people that do this kind of thing than you can imagine. It's really sad, but it's true, and they victimize people that are willing to help, people that open their minds, open their hearts, open their homes, open their wallets. And that's what happened to you, right?
100%. Yeah. I feel completely violated. I feel preyed upon. I feel stalked by her. I mean, I'm humiliated.
What pulled it at y'all's heart when you first got sucked in by this?
I thought I had an opportunity to change someone's life for the better.
And you say that she sent you photos of a brain scan.
She did, yes.
Right? And it showed 13 lesions.
13 lesions on her brain.
Right, which, I mean, that's severe. 13 lesions is pretty good coverage.
I think she also knew that we had kind of limited knowledge and experience of the disease, so I just accepted it as the truth.
Right.
She's very intelligent. She really did her research. And one thing that she did that I found particularly distressing was she would adopt the stories of other survivors in the organization. So there was a young woman that we knew that had a similar experience. She did have cancer had gone to her brain, and she had similar lesions. So Sarah adopted her story as her own.
And she said that she had just really chemotherapy, very aggressive, and that she had to have blood transfusions, and that she just was scared to death, just paralyzing anxiety about all of this, right?
Nonstop.
And you say that she just cried about fears of dying and her legacy and leaving her daughter without anyone, that she was just playing the family card, the fear card, the disease card, everything.
She played the entire deck of cards.
As I'm talking to you about this now, you seem pained about this now. I mean, I see pain in your face as you're talking about this now.
It's incredibly painful. It's incredibly painful. It's, you know, she's changed me, who I am as a person. You know, I'm now looking at everybody and saying, are you real? Do I believe you? Is what I second guess myself. You know, and I consider one of my good qualities is that I want to help. And I don't know if I want to do anymore. Like, she's robbed me of the one joy in my life, and that was helping other people. I don't want her to do that to me.
Well, next, Sarah claims that she had a husband named James, and then she amped it up by saying she had a stalker who was in love with this husband, James, and the story ended in a shootout. More on that when we come back. To create this post, she had to go get dressed up like this. She had to actually create this image for you.
It's maniacal.
And later, Brian and Liz, you've only ever seen Sarah wearing a wig and a headscarf. Bethany, you've never seen her actually walk. Are you guys ready to see the real Sarah?
Tuesday, a serial child kidnapper
He started wrapping my head in duct tape, tied my arms with barbed wire.
Puts you under a tarp.
Years later, a chilling revelation.
He watched you.
He had gone by her house and actually thought about kidnapping her again.
You've never heard that, right?
Plus, the Jane Doe responsible for his capture.
These two girls have never met.
That's Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, they say they had the perfect mom.
Now Cammie is a homeless drug addict who has been arrested 12 times. You were married and having sex with a 17-year-old boy.
That's Wednesday.
I absolutely feel stalked and violated by Sarah. I look outside the window probably 100 times a day.
It's been an invasion of our privacy, of our personal lives, and a huge lack of trust.
It's incredibly upsetting even to me that I find myself now second-guessing everybody that I know.
You say she made Facebook posts and then she shared photos about her treatment, right?
She did.
So she had photo evidence here. This wasn't just a story.
Right.
And, you know, we look at them here, and she's got a head wrap here, blanket, and she's all done, going home, feeling drained at Cancer Center. Okay, now let's think about this for a minute. She dates this January 22nd, so I want you to think about this. What do you think now when you realize to create this post, she had to go get dressed up like this, put this head wrap on, get a blanket, get everything set up, and either somebody take that picture or set up a timer on a camera and create this illusion of being at a chemo infusion center and post that up. She had to, this wasn't like, oh, just something slipped out when I was talking to somebody. She had to actually create this image for you.
This was all premeditated. All of it.
It's maniacal. I mean, sincerely, who has time for this was my first question. It's just sick. It's just sick.
Next one. Well, it's that time again, infusion day. This is a week later. I braved the sub-zero temps to make it in. So it's not enough that she's just having to go through it.
Right.
It's like walking to school uphill 2 miles both ways. It's like sub-zero temperatures I've got to go through to get there. February 4th, heading to Houston for Gamma Knife. As always, prayers and positive juju are always appreciated. Then March 5th. So this is my least favorite day of the week, but I'm going to pick myself up so I can kick some cancer blank. So here she goes, just like, you know, be proud of me. I'm courageous.
In between all of these posts, she must have messaged me 100 times a day. Literally 100.
100 times a day.
At least 100. Looking for help, support, and she knew that I was going to leave whatever I was doing at that minute to help her, and I would.
Well, Sarah told Liz and Brian that she had a stalker who was in love with her husband. Now, this is a video message Sarah sent to Liz after claiming she saw her stalker at the gym.
I'm not going to let her take this away from me. I'm bigger than that.
What did you think about this? I mean, because at this point, your protective juices start kicking in, because now this is a stalker. We're talking about threats to safety, and she's talking to your wife 100 times a day.
Right.
So she's bringing this drama to your door. I know you want to help her, but now she's bringing drama to your door.
Yeah. And it's been, you know, sort of twofold there, because I also had developed a relationship online with her husband, And I've been chatting with him, trying to offer some support as you would, and say, hey, if you need an ear to talk to, and we can have those conversations. So, it's definitely a very odd thing to be saying, played back, in real time.
Yeah, because there were messages between the two of you, because you're trying to do your part and support with him, and these messages, like James to you, hey man, I know we haven't talked much, but I'm really struggling, right? Some extra support would be awesome. Of course, tell me what's going on. You're saying, yeah, I'm here. Then I'm doing everything I can possibly think of to make her happy, but I can't compete with you guys in Florida. Well, I'm happy that she's happy with new people that she's found, but I'm feeling pretty left out right now. So she, through imaginary him, is guilt-inducing you guys for supporting her.
Right.
That did make us feel pretty bad. There was one weekend that she wanted to come visit us, and I said, you really got to stay home. You've been leaving your husband for 3 weeks in a row now, and he's been supporting you. You need to spend some time with him. And we told her one weekend that she absolutely could not come to Florida to visit us, and that was the weekend that she just couldn't handle not having all of our time, and she created the shootout.
Yeah. I hear in the texture of your comments, you still are talking about him and them almost as though he's real.
We believe that he was.
Right.
We said
but now, today.
It's very hard to process. I've been having a really hard time since finding this out, moving forward. Really hard. I said I don't know what to believe anymore.
Here are some messages about the stalker. She's chasing me. Well, where are the cops? Hide. She has a gun. And then radio silence. She knew that you had a friend shot to death.
She just went and reopened the wound.
What lies ahead in Dr. Phil May?
See this? My guest Angie says that is ironclad evidence that her husband Joe is having an affair.
I can see the buttocks of a woman sitting on top of Joe.
You got the house wired with cameras and microphones. You put a motion detector under the bed.
Yes.
You actually think that he's bringing her not only into your home, but into your bed while you're in it.
Did you lie about being in the military? Oh, wait, what now? Now you can't hear me? Come on, bro.
My earpiece slipped out.
Kendall has made some serious accusations. She claims that her father molested her.
These accusations are completely false.
Everyone thinks I'm lying.
You said, I don't lie, but then you say I lied to the court. You filed a false report. Their mother, Cammie, was their biggest supporter. Now Cammie is a homeless drug addict who has been arrested 12 times.
People call it dumpster diving. I call it treasure hunting. I've eaten fruit out of the garbage.
You've got to be willing to look her in the eye and say, I am done.
I don't even think I want her back.
You're going to bury your mother and spend the rest of your life without her if something doesn't happen.
I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Okay, first off, she's exploiting you totally. She knows this. Because you have to, in order, and I'm saying this for a reason, in order for you to unpack all of this, as twisted as it seems, you've got to stand in her shoes for a minute and think about the other side of this equation. Go to her end and think what she's doing. She's saying, okay, now I've got to message them, so what am I going to do? And she said, okay, I'm going to guilt induce them on my husband's part, who doesn't exist. So he's going to tell them that he feels left out. Is this to set you up to do some things for him? So she has two portals of drain?
Absolutely. She set the James, in motion so that I would be offering him support, you were offering him support, and then, vicariously she was getting that support
So
herself.
now there's 200 times, 100 from you, maybe 100 from you. She's doubling down by coming up with him, and then you're saying, hey, you need to stay home with him. And she said, well, obviously you don't get it, lady, so we're going to jack this up. And so here are some messages between Sarah and Liz about the stalker. Sarah, after me, gun, and you say, you're safe. Cops are on it now. What? Phone 1%. Their phone's dying, right? Mm-hmm. So you're safe, okay? She's chasing me. Well, where are the cops? Hide. She has a gun. Mm-hmm. So she's creating this like she's actually in a store, right? Mm-hmm. And my phone's dying, so I'm getting ready to leave you twisting here. I want drama. I want you to... So she's raising it up, where I'm going to leave you not knowing, so you will be suffering, worrying about me. Right. My phone's dying. I'm down to 1%. She's chasing me. There's a gun. The cops aren't here. And then radio silence.
Right.
What's the payoff? What do you think she's getting out of that?
Well, she followed it up with, after this incident, I told her, I said, my gosh, I am so drained, I'm exhausted. You called me at that moment. I said, I felt responsible for the outcome of your life. And then she played that for the next 2-3 days, knowing that I felt so responsible at that moment.
For you're drained. She was grazed by a bullet.
Obviously, I let her down.
Right? She was grazed by a bullet because she sent you a photo.
She did.
And she claims 7 people were injured in the shooting. Now, this... Brian, was her undoing, right?
Yeah, that was...
Because now this is a newsworthy event.
Right.
So now you have the ability to objectively corroborate something.
Correct. I had a few suspicions along the way, but I'm not going to go to somebody that is undergoing chemo and ask those types of questions. This was a different story.
Now, she knew, because you had shared this, that you had had a friend shot to death.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
So knowing that, she plays this gunshot drama out to you, knowing that you had lost someone you cared about to gun violence. So she puts herself in that situation, knowing that that is a relevant, raw situation with you. How do you feel about that now, knowing that she knew that and chose that raw content to exploit you?
I'm furious. You know, we had very personal conversations about that shooting, and I told her, you know, how it felt at that time, and you know, how it was still troubling to me. So she just went in and reopened the wound.
Yeah. Well, next we're going to meet Bethany, a woman who met Sarah at a camp for people with disabilities. Now, Bethany was Sarah's camp counselor and caregiver. That's next.
I was a camp counselor. She was in a power wheelchair. As her caregiver, we would take care of all of her needs. If somebody needs to go to the bathroom, we're going to the bathroom. If they want to shower, we're going to go shower. When I heard the news that Sarah was faking her disability, I absolutely felt betrayed.
Dr. Phil's newest podcast is available now.
This isn't about the education. It's about saying, I went to Harvard, Yale, USC. If you ever get in trouble, this is a guy you need to talk to.
Once you're in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system, it is very hard to emerge unscathed.
Do you think these scammers should go to prison?
They're going to prison, all of them. Here's the thing that I've learned about being a consultant for so many white-collar defendants.
Subscribe for free on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher so you don't miss an episode.
Well, sadly, Brian and Liz aren't the only two people who say they have felt violated by Sarah's tall tales and lies. Bethany says she also became friends with Sarah, but this time she was in a wheelchair. They met at a camp for people with disabilities 3.5 years ago. Take a look.
I met Sarah at a camp for adults with disabilities. I was a camp counselor, which also was a dual role as the caregiver. Sarah told me that she had muscular dystrophy. She was in a power wheelchair. The camp is really focused on accepting any disability to be able to come and experience an outdoor lifestyle. There was horseback riding and archery, zip lining. As her caregiver, it was really rewarding to allow her to have those experiences and to see the smiles on her face. We would take care of all of her needs. If somebody needs to go to the bathroom, we're going to the bathroom. If they want to shower, we're going to go shower. I was the one to change her feminine products multiple times a day. Sarah and I did develop a friendship. I felt like we were very close. When she got home, Sarah and I would have conversations at least once or twice a week for about 6 months. Sarah signed up for the spring session to go back to camp. She had been telling her family that she was going down to that camp to volunteer. Her family was suspicious because she had done this several other times before, and they tried to catch her in those lies. A local pastor found out, contacted the camp to see if she was actually there as a volunteer or if she was there to be a camper. Her family showed up, the pastor showed up to confront her. The camp director helped facilitate that interaction. She got up out of the wheelchair and didn't say anything. When I heard the news that Sarah was faking her disability, there were just tons of anger and almost rage that I'd never experienced before. I absolutely felt betrayed. When I found out a couple weeks ago through Brian and Liz that Sarah was saying that she had terminal cancer, I just kind of laughed. It wasn't a shock to me that she's still doing this. This will be the first time that I'm going to see her walk, and this isn't about me, this is about her. I don't think she really realizes how much she's hurting people.
Well, Bethany, thank you for being here, number one, and thank you for what you do in that camp and helping people, number two. That is really a gracious thing for you to do.
Thank you.
When you say she doesn't understand how this hurts people, how does it hurt people? How did it hurt you?
Well, first, it violated my trust completely. I mean, if somebody comes into a camp like that and says that I have muscular dystrophy or a different disease, I'm not going to question that. And now it kind of makes me want to question people that shouldn't have to be questioned. So that was the first violation. And then second, just violating my ability as a caregiver. You know, I was giving 200% of my attention to her. Everything that she wanted me to do was so much more physically involved than any of the other clients that I had dealt with. The things that I had to do for her that week, even down to changing her feminine products, you know, that's something that I can't even fathom being in a situation like that, to ask someone to do that.
Do you think she was laughing at you the whole time?
You know, that's never really crossed my mind. I just felt like she was so sick and into her lie that she believed the lie herself.
This is a woman that the day before camp is walking around.
Yeah.
And goes and gets a wheelchair and gets in it and rolls in there and pretends all of this the entire time, consciously makes this decision.
Yeah.
And she asked you for your ultrasound pictures.
She did. I was pregnant during that friendship, and she kept asking me to see the ultrasound pictures, which at the time I didn't think was weird, but hindsight, doing more research on her and finding out she had stolen other women's ultrasound pictures just is another violation of my trust.
How did you finally find out the truth? Was it when the pastor showed up?
I wasn't there when that happened. That was the following season. The camp director had called me knowing that her and I were really close and really good friends, and just watched her get up out of the wheelchair and walk to the van.
So it's been 4 years and you've never seen her walk?
No.
Okay. Well, next, she says she's ready to face and apologize to the people that she's lied to and betrayed. But is she really? Will she be fully honest with me? She's here. We're going to meet her next.
Around 25, 26 is when I told my first big lie, that I had cancer. The things that I would do to change my look to make my lie believable was like buying wigs. I bought like a wheelchair. I can't remember the last time that I met someone and told them my real truth.
Tuesday, a serial child kidnapper
He started wrapping my head in duct tape, tied my arms with barbed wire.
Puts you under a tarp.
Years later, a chilling revelation.
He watched you.
He had gone by her house and actually thought about kidnapping her again.
You've never heard that, right?
Plus, the Jane Doe responsible for his capture.
These two girls have never met.
That's Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, they say they had the perfect mom.
Now Cammie is a homeless drug addict who has been arrested 12 times. You were married and having sex with a 17-year-old boy.
That's Wednesday.
Well, I'm here with Bethany, Liz, and Brian. They all say they have been victims of Sarah's, well, fabrications is a very kind word, None of them have seen or spoken to her since they discovered she does not have cancer, doesn't have a husband, doesn't have a daughter, doesn't have muscular dystrophy. Here's what Sarah has to say. Watch very carefully.
I have a lying addiction. The last 8 years, I've done all kinds of extreme measures to make my life seem more exciting. Growing up, you always want to have that perfect life. All my friends were getting married, and it made me feel left out. Around 25, 26 is when I told my first big lie, that I had cancer. I first joined the online support group and met people, and that's when I started living that lie. I would post pictures, stuff like it's treatment day, can I have extra prayers and support? The things that I would do to change my look, to make my lie believable, was like buying wigs. I bought like a wheelchair. By lying, I was getting attention. Another lie was that I was married. I started off with like a husband and 2 kids. That was my first husband story lie. I would tell people that my husband's name was James. I would post pictures of me and my ex, or me and my cousin, and then I'd also post pictures of my friends' children with me. I've also lied about having muscular dystrophy. I've worked at a muscular dystrophy camp in the past, so I'm familiar with the people and what their struggles are. It took a lot of mental brain power to keep up the charade. If you're playing hockey and you want to hold the stick and hit the puck, you can't do that. I go into a relationship with a friend on the basis of lies every single time. Talking to Liz online was very personal. I told her I had stage 4 breast cancer. She was genuinely interested in me. I just had a really strong connection with her. Liz and Brian have like the perfect life. They own their own company with a boat right on the ocean. They kept trying to get James to come down to Florida, but obviously he couldn't do because he didn't exist. I thought I could deter them from the James situation by creating a stalker. Maybe that would get them off that tangent. Well, I definitely got out of control. I can't remember the last time that I met someone and told them my real truth. This is ultimately do or die for me. If I can't stop, it's gonna wreck my life.
Well, Brian and Liz, you've only ever seen Sarah wearing a wig and a headscarf. You've never actually seen her real hair. Bethany, you've never seen her actually walk or be able-bodied. Are you guys ready to see the real Sarah?
I don't even know who the real Sarah is, so.
Well, let's find out. Let's bring Sarah out now. Sarah, Dr. Phil, have a seat. You know these three very well, actually.
I do.
You've been listening to everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to these folks?
That I'm extremely sorry for what I did. I didn't mean to hurt you guys the way that I did. Just such a compulsion that I couldn't control.
Sarah, it's way more than a compulsion. I mean, even just on that video, you're saying it's just an addiction to lying. This is way bigger and much more sick than just an addiction to lying.
I don't even believe a word you're saying. I don't.
I think you're a blasphemy to deliver.
So I lied about the cancer, but the love that I had for you guys was
like
not.
all of it again. Sarah, you don't understand. You ruined our life. You took me away from my life, my family, my other friends. Hours every day.
You gave me these crocodile tears of, I've never been able to do this before. I've never been able to cook my own meal. I've never been able to ride a horse. I've never been able to sit in a hammock or be on a swing or do a zip line. And we wanted to give you 500% of that experience. And you took that away from all those other campers as well. It's not even just about us.
And Sarah, how dare you? Our young friend on the West Coast that is battling stage 4 breast cancer, how dare you trivialize her disease and her illness as she struggles for her life every day? How dare you do that to her? How dare you? I'm just absolutely disgusted.
What is it about you makes you so disgusting that people won't have anything to do with you?
Inside the minds
Did you think about the next morning my parents will be dead?
of the world's most notorious
I asked him to kill my mother, but I didn't hold a gun to his head.
murderers.
The night of the murder, your mother was screaming your name for help.
Put my hands over my ears. And then it all went quiet.
what happened that night.
A new true crime podcast series, Analysis of Murder by Dr. Phil. Available now on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can.
What do you know about yourself that is not apparent, that makes you know that you need to steal attention, steal affection, steal effort? What is it that you know about yourself that makes you aware that you could never get that by being you?
I'm just a really lonely person, and I just have a hard time making friends, and people have never liked me for who I am in the past.
What is it about you? I mean, this
know.
is beyond just I'm lonely. You could go volunteer at this camp. You could have gone to the camp. You could have volunteered at the camp and become part of the peer group of counselors there. But instead, you stole the effort. You stole the compassion. You stole the love and care of these people instead of filling yourself up by giving what you needed the most. What is it about you that you know that makes you so disgusting that people won't have anything to do with you?
I don't know.
I don't believe that. You know something about you that you're hiding from these people, because you must know something about you that tells you, I've got to steal this because nobody would ever give it to me. Nobody would ever be my friend. I've got to lie to get a friend. What is it you know about yourself?
I'm just not a very good friend. I've never had an easy time making friends in the past, and
Sarah, we very quickly became friends. I mean, overnight, looking back on this experience at camp, you showed up at camp with half of a suitcase packed with crafts and things that we could do and gifts for us and thanking us. I mean, those are things that genuine friends do. I don't even know if that version of you is real, because I don't know what's real with you, but I felt like that was how a genuine friend would act. There was a 50-50 relationship there. And so for you to just kind of throw your hands up and say, well, I'm just lonely and I have a hard time making friends, you don't, because they trusted you. They opened their home to you multiple times. I was sharing very personal details that I only share with my closest friends. So I don't feel like that's real.
I mean, I feel like the things that I did say to you guys was genuinely friendship material.
All right, well, let me ask about that. Do you consider yourself deviously manipulative?
Yes.
I mean, you knew she had a friend shot and killed, so you manufacture somebody hunting you down with a gun, and then your phone dies, so you leave her in suspense, knowing she's lost someone to gun violence, so you structure a parallel event. That's manipulatively devious, is it not? You did that on purpose.
Yes.
You wanted to hurt her.
I didn't want to hurt her, I just wanted the attention.
You either wanted to hurt her or you just didn't care if you did.
I would never want to hurt her.
And I also want to clarify one thing, that we are not friends. We will never be friends. I want you to understand that.
Well, Liz says Sarah became so obsessed with her to the point that she started copying everything she did and said. We're going to talk about that next.
When I heard that Sarah was in town this past weekend for the triathlon, my heart about skipped a beat. I went to the race and watched and took pictures, honestly, in shock. I really did wonder if her motive for all of this was just to kind of insert herself in my life.
Now, from contracting Ebola from a monkey in medical school and being paralyzed after ovarian cyst surgery to catfishing a disabled friend, Sarah's deceptions have no bounds. Plus, Sarah says she's sorry. But does she even know what that means? Does she even know what that feels like? Well, I have my doubts. Here's a look at what's coming up.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil. She claimed she had cancer, muscular dystrophy. They were all lies.
I cannot be honest with people.
You say it is an irresistible impulse.
Yes.
So you are a total sociopath.
No, I don't know.
Now she's facing the people she conned.
You are a parasitic psychopath. You are worse than cancer. You have to pay.
That's Monday.
You do not want to miss it. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, and my new series, Analysis of Murder by Dr. Phil. The first installment is The Killer Thorn of Gypsy Rose. They're free, and you can find them on Apple Podcast app. Thanks for watching.